my calculations are correct, when this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
Beep, beep. Okay, here's an expensive piece for the Challenger. This is a brand new wiring kit, and this is going to replace the fuse deal that goes through the firewall. And they said you have to do a little modification, and I thought, oh no, I'm going to have to cut the firewall, but that's not the case. Basically, you're just going to drill a couple new holes in the firewall. They've made this so it'll fit the stock firewall. Then they send you this, which is on a sticky paper. And then there's your original bulkhead hole that mounted the old setup. There's two of them, one there and one there. So all you got to do is drill two little holes, one there and one there, to get this mounted up. So I'm looking forward to this. Not. I'm excited, but I'm not. Anyway, comes with all your flashers and relays, actual relays, instead of old stuff. God, I even got a brand new dimmer switch. I don't know what all's in here, but I think it's pretty much everything. Oh my gosh, there's your turn signal, marker lights. I don't have any marker lights, so I won't be using that. Looks like some larger battery cable maybe, I don't know. But anyway, this is set up for a one-wire alternator system, which with this March serpentine belt setup, that's exactly what that is, a one-wire. But I'm going to be able to get rid of the old Chrysler electrical components on the firewall there. One was for electronic ignition, and I have a Mallory ignition box. I'll probably install that inside the glove box so it's not cluttering up the engine bay. I'm not really sure what this was, if that had to do with the alternator or what, but I'm sure that can go. And then there's a resistor for the coil, which that can go. So all this crap will go, and we'll get a brand new harness on there. I've got the heater AC stuffed in over there, doing some test fitting. That's going to come back out because I haven't got my vacuum hoses yet to hook it all up. But I got my little teeny pieces of factory insulation up there on the firewall installed. It's kind of weird, they got a Texas shaped piece there. I don't know why. So I got the dash in, and then the top piece AC, just trying to test fit things and see what I've got to do to get this all together. Now, my wiring harness, the instructions tell me I got to start up here in the dash. So I got to get that in and start sorting all the wires for that. And then it has to come down here, and it'll come under this and to the back of the car. And then I can put together my taillight assembly. And then that one square hole up there is where the main outlet to the engine goes. Okay, so here's the template you're going to put on the firewall. The only drawback to this is you're supposed to peel the sticky off of this and apply it inside the engine bay. Well, that's not going to do me any good because the engine's in. I'm not going to be able to drill these holes. So this has got the V-notch in it, just like the factory V-notch in the firewall. So I'm going to have to put it on like that from the inside and drill my holes. If you don't put your holes in the right place, it's not going to work. So basically it's going to go like that. So the reason for the drilling the holes is this is where the bolts are going to come through to mount it. So the instructions on the template are to apply this to the firewall side, engine bay side. So basically you have to stick it on there like this. So your top hole is at the 1 o'clock and your bottom hole is going to be at like 8 o'clock. And then there's the little V cutout, and there's the one in the firewall. So you can't stick it to the firewall and drill the holes when you've got an engine in there. So if you got your engine in, you're going to have to tip it over this way and tape it to it. There's the template, and I've taped it on. It's not rocket science. And you cut this inside of this template out so you can kind of line it up along the edges of the holes. And you can see, well, sticking down here a little, but it's still even there. And like I said, that fits in there. It's not super tight, and it does not have this locating V that's in the for the original one. So I've already test fitted in there. And when you put it in, you're going to be confused about how this goes in unless there's another package, and I didn't want to open it because it's got all the little crimp-on tabs that you're going to put on here for other accessories and whatnot. And I didn't want to open that, but I thought, well, there's something paper in there. Maybe it'll show me how this goes. So this is how it's going to sit, just like that. And your wires are going to come out on an angle right here. And you'll be able to read all the writing. It'll be on a slight tilt clockwise. Anyway, your wires are going to come out up right in here. And it's going to be a tight bend. I can't really remember how the original harness went. I have removed my dash cover and the whole sub-dash assembly because I need room to do this. Like I said, if you try to do that from the engine bay side, yeah, you're not going to be able to drill those holes. And with the dash and everything in here, it's really hard to get in here and line that thing up correctly. So basically the harness is going to come out here, and then it's going to come up into here and into your original deals that held your loom in there. Okay, these are my wiring pliers I bought for my wiring kit that I got from American Auto Wire. So I might have been able to find these somewhere else cheaper, but that's what I ended up paying. $160 for the both of them. $180 by the time shipping and everything. Okay, a plus. So the wiper connector, windshield wiper switch connector, they say they can't get the original one, so you plug it in, this part up here, and there's a green wire and a red wire loose in the harness. You plug into the other two connectors. But your original connector looks like this, and it has everything in it. So don't be discouraged when it doesn't look like that. If you read the directions, it will show those wires that plug in there. And mine is a 73, and it has a 3-speed switch. So here's the new style one-piece connector. Goes on these 1, 2, 3, 4 terminals. And then you just take the loose green and the red one and plug them in here. And they've got these organized pretty well. They come out, you know, in the right spot. You can't miss where they go. So, and then this is the new voltage limiter to the gauges. And this is pretty common to all Chryslers. So I bought a new one just in case my old one didn't work. But they tell you in there that do not hook up the canister style noise suppressor when installing these limiters. So right there's the noise limiter, and they tell you not to hook that up. It would go here, but they say don't hook it up. Don't know why, but if they say no, then I'm not hooking it up. So they provide you with new connectors modern style stuff to go in these, and then lots of wire. And this is going to be for my signal brake light. The cool thing is all the wires are labeled, and then in their paper drawing it's pretty clear how you do this. So this would be the high beam indicator right here, which is going to go in that hole. I thought I'd have to cut off my old bulb sockets, but they actually provide you with new ones, and this is where those pliers are going to come in handy. They're the new socket bases, and then the deals that go in there, and the springs and everything. So I just temporarily want this connector to hang right here, and you got to give yourself enough wire and enough room so that if you have to pull this gauge cluster out and unplug it, you can get it out of the dash far enough, and you've got enough wire here to do that. So I think I'm going to leave it kind of like that for now till I get the lengths the way I need them, because see, here's your clock plug-in. That gives you enough room to get the dash out and unplug your clock, and so I need that much wire at least on the rest of these, so as you pull it out you could either unplug the bulb or just disconnect the connector and take the whole thing out. Okay, I've already made a mistake. I'm making mistakes to show you what not to do. Apparently I did not read through the directions enough. So on these connectors that have this plastic deal in it, you do not need a spring. The reason there's only 2 springs is because they're for these deep ones. These ones have a double wire setup in them, and there's 2 of them. So I took a bulb and tried in these ones with the plastic, and they work fine. So I've already screwed up, and that's why I left me plenty of wire on this, because I knew if I made a boo-boo, had to cut it off, I'd be doing it over again. So lesson learned, springs do not go in these ones with the plastic on them. So it pays to read the directions. I thought I'd read them all. Apparently I missed that part. So they go in, the bulbs fit in tight. I have no idea what they got in there, if it's just a springy plastic. But there we go. This is my left turn. So it's going to plug in here. I can get it in with one hand. There we go. Okay, left turn signal's in, and that's where the wire will be. So now we'll move on to the next one, and this one says right dash indicator. So this is going to be our right turn signal. So that one's going to go over in here by the voltage limiter. No, that says brake. Excuse me. Right here. This would be the right hand. So I just got to kind of make sure that I get the same length of wire on them, so that, like I said, as you pull it out, you'll be able to get to this and unplug it. Okay, this is how you're going to load it up into the pliers, just like this. Then put your wire in and crimp it. Okay, another tip, these prongs right here, you may have to take your thumb and just tweak them just a little until they'll fit somewhat starting to hold, because the way they are right now, they don't want to go in, and you could bend them by pushing on them too hard. You could bend them and they'll come back the other way. So just take your thumb and just go around and push them in until they just a little bit, and then test fit it. See, that one's going to go in now. It'll snap in good. Anyway, they take pretty good force. They pop right in, but you're going to have to maybe tweak those a little bit. Don't go too far. Okay, I've made a few boo-boos. I've used up all my little round connectors for the bulbs, but I've got everything done. I wasted like 2 of them. Accidentally crimped it to this wire with the wrong connector on it. So these connectors here use the spring in the bottom, and then there's a 12-volt feed wire that's going to go up inside there, and it's going to clip inside, and there's 2 of them here, and they look like this. They have a little thing on the side, and that'll touch the bulb base in there. So here's your 12-volt ignition feed to the brake lamp warning, and that is going to come off of the pink wire. And this is the pink wire, and you're also going to have to connect into it if you have an oil pressure warning lamp, which I don't, but I'm going to have to connect into it for the tachometer feed. And then the white wire is already there, and the connector and everything to plug in to the other terminal on the tach. So what I got to do now is, here's my pink ignition wire, and this is part of this whole other assembly here, and I've kind of zip tied this one and this one together because all these wires are going to go to fuel gauge, temperature gauge, and some stuff up here. So I'm going to try to route them somewhat together. So I have to take this one and route him around here and plug him in over here to the brake light one, and then route all this and get my pink one over there and cut it off to length to go in there. But if I'm going to pull power off of this for anything else, I'm going to have to hook into it. Now, I'm assuming they've probably given me the connectors to do that, and they have. No, that's not one. I know they make them, and I know these pliers will do them. So I'm going to have to see if I can find a splice. I know they've got them in the kit here, and they've probably got some extra ones. So if I'm going to, let's see here. Yeah, I'm going to have to hook into it because it has to go to the brake switch, and then it has to come over here to the tach. I can't remember which one's the feed for the power. I'm going to have to check on that. I've got a bunch of, whatever you do on one of these cars, take lots of pictures when you take it apart. And I've got lots of pictures that I reference. Anyway, the original tachometer stuff is this one here, the blue, which just goes on that one. And then this one is the one that bolts and connects to the terminal. And I think they've supplied me with that type of deal. So here's an end, but I don't see the lug in here. So, oh, wait a minute. They're all in here. This is where they're going to be. Okay, when you do your brake light switch, just take a chunk of that pink wire and cut you off a pigtail, because it's going to go from over here around, and I can either hook it to the tach and then take the pink wire and hook it there too, or splice it somewhere. Make sure you have the bulb out when you push that connector in here after you crimp it on, and I'll show you. It's going to be this connector right here, and it's only going to go in one way. To try to put it in the wrong way, it's not going to want to go in very deep. Put it in the correct way and push it in there, and it's going to take quite a bit of force. You'll have to really get a hold of this up close, and it'll go snap. Then put your bulb in, and then plug it in here. So what I did is I just brought it back right next to the wire that runs the light, and I'll tidy all this up and hook these together here. But this wire, pink one here, has got to connect right in here, and then you grab the other end of the pink wire, and it's going to come up here and connect also. So you're going to have a lot of pink wire that you're going to cut off, and this is going to just say 12 volt. 12 volt ignition, and this is just a feed wire. So when you turn the key on, it's hot. So you get your brake light and you get power to your tach. And that'll be, I think, the power wire right there. And then that's going to be the one, that'll be the white one, which is the coil wire. So that one will come around here and hook to that. So there'll be a lot of wire you cut off of these, but they've supplied a lot of wire for you. So there you go. Piece of cake. Just got to have patience. Read the instructions, study it. Like I said, this is not that bad. Okay, so they don't provide these type fittings. Don't see how they could. These are molded. Instead of using the ring terminals like these, I mean, you got to use it here. This is the power supply to the tach, but the input from the coil wire, which is this white one, was a push-on lug. So I opted to just cut the old ones off the old harness, and then this is, I think, my oil pressure one. And yeah, oil pressure. So I've opted to cut the ends off and use a butt splice on them. You can do whatever you want, but that's what I've decided to do. Anyway, I'm moving right along. Okay, so I don't like the butt connector, and I had to shorten this anyway. And since I don't have any of those connector type deals, the short ones, which is what I want, what you do is you cut the insulation off a spade connector and then take the dikes and clip this end off. I'll show you. So I just took the dikes and clipped the terminal off of it. Now I'll be able to stick both wires in there and crimp them down. It makes a good splice. And then I'll just put some heat shrink tube over it. Okay, much cleaner. I got a piece of shrink tube here that I'll slide up over it, get out the heat gun, put it on there instead of having this big gobby mess. So that's what I think I'm going to do with any of the other ones that I do this with, the other gauge ones that slip on here. This is the way I'm going to do it. Much cleaner. So also too, what I did with these ends is I took a multimeter and held it on the end of it, came around through the blue wire, the other wires, and touched the other end of the connector in there to make sure that there was continuity through this end, because you know sometimes they could be broke off right in here where they get bent all the time. So I'm double checking all of these to make sure that I have continuity and everything's good. One of the cool things about this that I've noticed is, so if you had to take your gauge cluster out for some reason, once you get it pulled out, you're not going to have to undo all the lights and everything. All you're going to have to do is unhook these two connectors and then unplug the connector out of the clock. Your whole dash unit's going to come out with all this wiring on it, which that's going to make it so much easier if you got to work on it. Okay, the gray wire is only to be used with aftermarket gauges. It's a feed wire. So I've cut it off and I've taped the end up and then taped it to the loom. Left some on there just in case if a guy ever changed over to some aftermarket gauges for some crazy reason. There it is. So you're probably laughing at me for cutting these off, and I've changed my mind on these. You clip them off, you get a sharp end on here which could go through your heat shrink, poke a hole in it. So I took a butt connector and took the outside off. Now I know you're saying you can go to town, you can buy some of these that are uninsulated. Yep, sure could, but I'm just using what I got. So my suggestion is go buy the uninsulated ones. So the difference between doing it this way and that way. Big ugly butt connector. Which would you rather have? I kind of prefer this. Looks better. Ooh, look what just showed up. I got my fingerprints all over it. This is a Bear master cylinder. Gonna go right there. It's gonna look good. Awesome. So in the instructions with this kit, they tell you not to hook up this capacitor slash noise suppressor, which plugs into the power inlet side of the voltage reducer for the gauges. And I don't know why, but so anyway, they tell you to not to use that. So I've taken it out, and I'm going to use the screw hole in it because this wire is supposed to be attached to the cluster somewhere as a ground. So I figured that would be a good place for my ground, right there in that screw hole. Anyway, so I've got everything tidied up kind of here and wired in. All I've got left in here is that ground, and then put in my heater AC switch and hook all that stuff up. I think I'm pretty much done with this part of it now. Oh, it's a beautiful, what day is it? I think it's Wednesday. It's like what, 1st or 2nd of February? I don't know. So anyway, I got some stuff going in the Jpaydirt box. So I put on the sticker and get the paper. Boy, Idaho's doing good. $600 million tax cut. I think Idaho has like $1 billion budget surplus from all the Californians and everybody else moving in. Oh boy. So that's cool, tax cut. Okay, got a hat going to Melody Ulrich in Robesonia, Pennsylvania. Okay, got a big box going out to Paddy Boyle. He lives in Northern Ireland. He sent me, I can't even remember what you call it, but the Catholics, it's a prayer card is what it is. And since I'm not Catholic, I had to call Bob McCloskey, the McCloskey Syndicate in New Jersey, to find out what that was. And when I found out, I was pretty impressed that Mr. Boyle went to all that trouble to do a prayer card for Shane. So, Mr. Boyle, I'm sending you a care package. Okay, this is the card that he sent me. And for those of you that are Catholic, you'll understand this. But I was pretty impressed that he would go to all this effort, and he even had the father sign it. Father Charles Gustav, in memory of Shane. Anyway, he mailed that to me all the way from Northern Ireland. So appreciate that, Patty. That was totally awesome, and I got some goodies coming your way. Okay, this box is to one of my customers. And I got a big box going to Brent Hendricks in Eagan, Minnesota. Calendar going to Jeffrey James. Thank you for the John Deere calendar, Jeff. And he's in Fresno. Gary Maxfield, Desert Hot Springs, California. David Hunninghake, Vermilion, Kansas. Nathan Gookin in Columbia, California. Okay, now this one came back months ago. I think this is a Filthy Horse silhouette. And it was to Diego Alanitz in Tonopah, Nevada. And because there was no email with the order, no phone number, I couldn't contact him. So I don't know what to do with this, Diego. I'd love to send it to you. You paid for it. So that's why you've never received it. It's addressed to a P.O. box. And it just came back as it says UNC, whatever that means. My postal friends will know that. So anyway, Diego, send me an email at jpaydirt7 at gmail.com. Anyway, let me know, because I'd love to get this to you. I'd love to forward it to you. Mr. Griffey took a dump in our bedroom the other night. It was stunk so bad. It woke us up. Oh, it was horrible. Hey, so I received these in the mail the other day. I Googled this address in Rosecrans Avenue, Hawthorne, Los Angeles, 5422. It's a 3PL or whatever call it place. It's a third-party fulfillment center. So somebody has sent me these for some kind of purpose, but you got to take credit for it or something. Tell me who you are and what you specifically had in mind for me to do with these. I've seen these used on shifters on trucks to extend them. All kinds of uses for these. I'm sure we'll find something to do with them. But you got to let me know what you had in mind, man. Thank you.
It's all right. It's all right.